I've been looking forward to for the whole part of the show right now is bringing in Governor Mike Huckabee.
You've been talking about it since hair and makeup.
I really have, because I loved Governor Huckabee's assessment of what was unfolding with the health care law over the past few weeks. I thought he had astute assessments, Governor, about this bill. You didn't really think this bill served Trump's supporters very well, and now we saw the debris field that's left after this thing fell and crashed. Yesterday, we heard from the president on Twitter saying we're going to still get this done. How in the world does he move forward and get this done?
Well, I think he's got to focus on the product and not the process. In my view, what happened was that the people of Washington captured this and made it about process, getting it done in a certain deadline. What was that deadline? Why an artificial deadline? Why did it matter? And instead of focusing on the impact that it was going to have on the very people who elected Donald Trump, they focused on the Washington self-imposed, let's get this done, let's show everybody how good we are. And I think that a lot of members of Congress finally just said, whoa, there's some things they're going to hurt the people of my state. And they couldn't go along with it. So, yeah, go back to the drawing board. But focus on the product and not the process. People outside of Washington couldn't care jack squat about the process.
About parliamentarians.
Well, Governor, I mean, you know well what it means to bring people together to get things done. As governor of the state of Arkansas, I mean, you've done this for years now. President Trump hinted at the fact that he wants to work with Democrats. He realizes that in order to get the votes, you might have to cross over to the other aisle to get things done. What advice do you have for him to form a new coalition, which it seems like he's going to have to do here to get tax reform done?
Well, never make it about the party or the ideology of left and right. Make it about the ideology of up and down. It's what I call vertical politics. Democrats can vote with you if what you're proposing takes people up, not down. Quit focusing on the horizontal left and right. It's always a loser. Focus on the up and down. And make it so that the Democrats are getting pressure from their constituents. They're not going to respond to pressure from the president or from their Republican colleagues. They will respond to the pressure of their voters. Put something on the table so good, so effective for the voters in those Democratic districts that the Democrats themselves would be very, very just crazy not to get on board and support it because it's their political futures on the line.
But I mean, the grassroots of the Democrat Party at this point are pretty rabid in their resistance to President Trump. You see it in town halls and elsewhere. Where's this scenario where Democrats have an incentive to work with Republicans? I mean, that's the question. What's the governing coalition look like if they want to do Obamacare again or they want to get tax reform? Isn't it, I would posit it's more likely that you work with the Freedom Caucus or others to sort of shore up a conservative Republican bill as opposed to hope you get Democrat votes when you might then also lose conservatives. I mean, which one do you think is more likely?
Well, but Pete, let me go back to my point. A good health care bill isn't left or right. It is up and down.
But philosophy on health care is left and right. I mean, market-based or single payer, I mean, you're going to lose Democrats or Republicans either way.
Well, but it doesn't have to be that way. And here's why I'm saying that. Free market is something Republicans embrace, but if it delivers health care at an affordable rate for people, then Democrats can't really reject that.
Who doesn't want that?
They might not like. So, I mean, that's where we have failure. The second thing is make it so that it pushes power back to the states, and therefore it frankly takes some of the Washington members of Congress off the hook. It puts the pressure on the governors in the states to make Medicaid work. There were a lot of problems for Republican governors in this bill because it meant that some of their Medicaid expansion, you can argue that they shouldn't have done it, but they already did it because they felt like they had to. The point being, in about 3 years, their state budgets were going to collapse without some form of continuing that process.
Governor, we'll get you out of here on this. We've got Representative Adam Kinzinger coming up on the show, Republican. He says that the Freedom Caucus single-handedly saved Obamacare. He thinks they need to work with Democrats. How do you think they get tax reform through? Is the Freedom Caucus going to be a sticking point here?
Well, it shouldn't be. I mean, for heaven's sakes, if the Freedom Caucus can't support significant tax reform, they need to go home. And I think they will. This should have been the first thing the Republicans tackled, not health care. Too complicated. They should have tackled tax reform. They should have gotten in where they bring that tax rate in the corporate down to 15%, stimulate the economy, get people back to work, which is exactly what it would do, and all the time be working carefully to craft a really good health care bill that does what the president said, which is give people coverage but make it more affordable. And by the way, let's be real honest. The government's role in that is going to have to be to subsidize some of the really high-cost people Because if you don't, you can't bring those costs down. And I don't think a lot of members of Congress had ever dealt with health care policy to the level where they understood that. Well, health care is not going to get less expensive in the future. People live longer, they want more procedures and processes, and frankly, those cost a lot of money. So there's a way to bring the cost down and create a partnership and utilization control, but it ain't by having the federal government in charge of it.
All right. Always thoughtful, Governor. Good to have you here this morning.
Thanks, Governor.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys.